The DMV office was suffocating that morning, stuffy, overcrowded, and filled with exhausted faces. The air conditioner had long stopped working properly, and the crowd fanned themselves desperately with papers and hats, wiping beads of sweat from their foreheads. The dull, fluorescent lighting flickered occasionally, casting an eerie glow over the sea of impatient customers. The low murmur of conversations mixed with the occasional frustrated sighs and the mechanical drone of the number-calling system, which was moving at a painfully slow pace. Among the people waiting was a young security guard, slouched at his post, eyes glazed over as he scrolled through his phone, barely paying attention to his surroundings. It was just another monotonous day at work for him. But then his gaze fell on one man who stood out from the rest, a tall, broad-shouldered figure wearing an old, faded blue jacket. The jacket looked like it had seen better days, patched in some places, worn thin in others. Half the man's face was covered with scars from burns, deep grooves of pain and survival etched into his skin. His hands, shoved deep in his pockets, bore similar disfigurement, twisted, rough, a testament to battles fought and sacrifices made. Despite his intimidating appearance, the man seemed oddly anxious. He shifted nervously, constantly glancing at his watch. His fingers twitched inside his pockets. His eyes darted to the front of the line and then back to the exit. He had somewhere important to be, and time was running out. Inside the office, the employees were a stark contrast to the desperate customers. Behind the counter, two DMV clerks, Lucy and Denise, leaned back in their chairs, sharing a laugh over their latest gossip. They were known for their arrogance and laziness, often mocking customers behind their backs. To them, this was just another ordinary day of pretending to work while making people wait unnecessarily. Lucy, a woman in her late 40s with dyed blonde hair and a permanent scowl, leaned toward Denise. "Did you see that guy in the blue jacket? Looks like something out of a horror movie." Denise, younger but equally unpleasant, giggled. "Yeah, I hope he doesn't come to my counter. Gives me the creeps." They cared little about the tired seniors, the frustrated young parents juggling crying toddlers, or the nervous migrants clutching their documents, hoping to navigate the bureaucracy without issue. Unless someone offered money or small gifts, Lucy and Denise treated everyone with the same level of disdain. There was only one exception in that office, Jennifer. Jennifer had grown up in an orphanage, raised with the belief that kindness cost nothing but meant everything. Young, modest, and dedicated, she worked diligently, ignoring the toxic atmosphere created by her colleagues. She treated every visitor with respect, offering tired customers a warm smile, a patient ear, and, most importantly, fairness. Unlike Lucy and Denise, Jennifer didn't see numbers or inconveniences in the people before her. She saw stories, she saw struggles, and on that particular morning, she saw something in the scarred man's eyes that made her pause. A deep sadness, a silent plea. As the lunch break approached, the line barely moved. The customers groaned as Lucy and Denise slowly gathered their things, their well-manicured nails clicking against their keyboards one last time before they prepared to leave. They completely ignored the fact that people had been waiting for hours. "All right, folks, we're on lunch. Come back in an hour," Lucy announced, not bothering to look up from her purse as she rifled through it for her car keys. A collective groan of disappointment rippled through the room. But one voice broke through the complaints. "Please, I've been here since morning. I just need to change the photo on my driver's license. It's a small request." The scarred man had stepped forward, desperation evident in his posture. His fists clenched at his sides as he fought to keep his emotions in check. "My mother is waiting at home. She's ill. I need to catch the last bus. Please, I just need a few minutes." Lucy barely spared him a glance. "Come back after lunch. We're done for now." He took another step forward, hands trembling slightly. "You don't understand. I don't have another way to get home. She needs me." Denise rolled her eyes dramatically and snapped, "Guards, get him out of here." The young security guard, who had barely been paying attention earlier, immediately straightened up at her command. Without hesitation, he stepped forward and placed a firm hand on the man's arm, leading him toward the exit. The scarred man didn't resist. though his shoulders sagged with a visible weight of disappointment. The heavy glass door shut behind him, and a deep silence settled over the room. Jennifer watched the entire interaction unfold, her heart pounding. Something about it felt horribly wrong. Jennifer watched as the scarred man shuffled toward the exit, his shoulders heavy with exhaustion. Something about the way he moved, about the hopelessness in his eyes, struck a deep chord within her. Ignoring the mocking snickers from Lucy and Denise, she sprang from her desk and hurried after him. "Wait," she called softly, catching up to him just before he reached the door. He turned slightly, his burnt hands still buried deep in his pockets. He looked at her with suspicion, as if he had long since given up on the idea that anyone could be kind. "Please come back. I'll help you," Jennifer said gently. "You'll make it in time for your bus." He hesitated. Then, with a slow nod, he followed her back inside. Jennifer quickly processed his paperwork, her fingers moving deftly across the keyboard. The man remained silent, staring at the wall as if he was somewhere far away. When she finally handed him the completed documents, he looked down at them for a long moment before whispering, "Thank you." Jennifer smiled, but before she could say anything, he muttered under his breath, "Is there really no justice in this world? What did I risk my life for?" His words lingered in the air as he turned and walked away, leaving Jennifer with a strange, lingering feeling in her chest. The DMV office had always been a place of silent frustration, but after what had just happened, the air felt heavier than usual. As Lucy and Denise returned from their leisurely lunch break, they strutted past the long line of people still waiting. But instead of the usual weary silence, there were whispers, hushed but angry murmurs spreading through the crowd. "Those two are the worst," a woman muttered. "I can't believe they treated that man like that," another chimed in. "Someone should report them." But an older gentleman sighed. "What good will it do? They'll just be replaced by others like them." Lucy and Denise, oblivious to the brewing resentment, flopped back into their chairs, laughing about something trivial. "Did you see that guy's face? He looked like something out of a horror movie." Denise sneered. Jennifer clenched her fists but said nothing. She had learned long ago that some battles weren't worth fighting with words. Instead, she packed up her things and headed home, thinking only of her cat Felix, who would be waiting for her at the door. The DMV office was as chaotic as ever when, suddenly, the front doors swung open with authority. A tall man in a crisp navy blue suit strode inside, flanked by several city officials. His presence alone sent a ripple of silence through the room. Employees stopped mid-conversation. Even Lucy and Denise, who had been sharing a mean-spirited joke, froze in place. Jennifer recognized him immediately, Mayor Reckenzone. "What kind of nonsense is going on here?" he thundered, his voice reverberating off the drab DMV walls. Lucy and Denise shrank in their seats, exchanging nervous glances. Jennifer, on the other hand, remained calm. She instinctively straightened, her hands clasped in front of her. The mayor's piercing gaze swept across the room before he continued. "The other day, an honorable resident of our city, a war hero, Chris Dober, came here, and you humiliated him." A gasp rippled through the office. Some employees looked at one another, shocked, while others bowed their heads, knowing exactly who the mayor was talking about. Lucy's face turned ghostly pale. Denise's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Jennifer's breath caught in her throat. Chris Dober, the man with the burns, the one she had helped. She had no idea he was a hero, and she had no idea how much her small act of kindness was about to change everything. Chris Dober was no ordinary man. He had dedicated his life to serving his country as a submariner on a nuclear submarine. Years ago, disaster struck when a fire broke out in the engine room, threatening not only the lives of his fellow crew members, but also the possibility of a catastrophic nuclear meltdown. Chris had a choice: escape with the others or stay behind to contain the fire. He chose the latter. The burns he suffered were excruciating. His hands, his face, his body, scarred beyond recognition. The Navy honored him, but the world forgot him. After his medical discharge, his wife left him, unable to cope with his new reality. His friends disappeared, unwilling to face the awkwardness of his condition. Jobs rejected him because of his appearance. He had nothing left but his elderly mother, who had always believed in him. He moved back to their small village to care for her, surviving on a modest pension. The day he came to the DMV, he wasn't asking for much, just a new driver's license photo so he could legally drive his mother to her doctor's appointments. Instead, he was humiliated, until Jennifer. The mayor's voice echoed through the silent DMV office. "This man risked his life for us, and yet you treated him like an inconvenience." He glared at Lucy and Denise, who were too afraid to meet his eyes. Lucy stammered, "We didn't know who he was." "It shouldn't have mattered," the mayor snapped. "Do you think respect is only reserved for those you deem important?" He turned to Jennifer. "You, on the other hand, saw the dignity in another human being. That is the kind of leadership we need." Jennifer's heart pounded. Leadership? Then, in front of everyone, the mayor fired Lucy and Denise on the spot. Jennifer was stunned when he turned to her and said, "As of today, you are the new head of this office. If anyone deserves to set the standard for fairness and efficiency, it's you." She hesitated for only a second before nodding. "I accept, but only if I can make changes to how this office operates." The mayor smiled. "That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say." Jennifer wasted no time. She implemented a new training program for employees, ensuring that respect and efficiency were priorities. She cut unnecessary bureaucracy, streamlined processes, and created a more welcoming environment for everyone. And soon, people noticed the difference. The long lines that once felt endless were now moving swiftly. Employees, inspired by Jennifer's leadership, began treating customers with genuine kindness. Even the most impatient visitors left with smiles. But Jennifer's life was about to change in another unexpected way. A news station came to film a segment on the DMV's transformation. Among the crew was a cameraman named Greg. He had seen many stories in his career, but something about Jennifer captivated him. The way she spoke to people, the way she turned something as dull as a government office into a place of warmth. "Mind if I ask you out for coffee?" Greg asked after the interview. Jennifer was caught off guard. She wasn't used to being the center of attention, but for some reason, she found herself smiling. Sure. One coffee turned into many walks. Many walks turned into late-night conversations. And before they knew it, they had become inseparable. Memorial Day arrived with a bright, crisp morning. The city square was decorated with banners, and a large stage stood in the center, adorned with American flags. Families gathered, children clutched small flags, and veterans sat proudly in the front row, their uniforms adorned with medals of honor. Among them was Chris Dober, now standing tall despite the burdens he had carried for years. The mayor took the stage first, delivering a heartfelt speech about sacrifice, bravery, and the heroes who walked among them. Then, to the audience's surprise, Chris stepped forward to speak. His deep voice resonated through the microphone, steady and calm. He spoke not of his own actions aboard the submarine that day, but of the struggle that followed, of the loneliness, the disillusionment, and how society often forgets those who gave everything for it. He described that fateful day at the DMV, his frustration, and the cold indifference he had faced. "But one person," he continued, his voice thick with emotion, "showed me that kindness still exists. She reminded me that dignity is not something we earn. It is something we all deserve." He turned towards the crowd and raised his hand, gesturing toward Jennifer. She didn't see a scarred man. She saw a human being. Jennifer's breath caught in her throat as the mayor called her name. The crowd erupted into applause, and Greg gave her a reassuring squeeze on the hand. Trembling slightly, she made her way to the stage, her heart pounding. Chris took a step forward, looking at her with gratitude. "Jennifer," he said softly, "you didn't just change my life that day. You reminded me that I still had worth." With that, he unpinned a small medal from his uniform, one that symbolized service and sacrifice, and placed it in her hand. The audience gasped, then roared with applause. Tears filled Jennifer's eyes as she clutched the medal tightly, overwhelmed by the moment. Greg captured every second of it on camera, beaming with pride. That evening, Jennifer sat with Greg on her small apartment balcony, the city lights twinkling in the distance. The metal Chris had given her rested on the table between them. She traced its smooth surface, still in disbelief over what had happened that day. "You know," Greg said, watching her with admiration, "you're more beautiful than any movie star." Jennifer let out a soft laugh, shaking her head. "That's a bit dramatic." He reached out and took her hand. "No, it's true. Not just because of how you look, but because of who you are. You change people's lives just by being yourself." Jennifer looked into his eyes, warmth spreading through her chest. It had been a long journey from the quiet orphanage where she grew up to this moment. She had never sought recognition, never expected her simple act of kindness to ripple out in ways she couldn't have imagined. "I never thought," she whispered, "that one small decision would lead to all this." Greg smiled. "That's the thing about kindness. You never know how far it will go." In the days that followed, Jennifer's story spread across the city. More people came forward with stories of her quiet kindness, of how she had made their lives just a little easier in a world that often felt cold. The DMV continued to flourish under her leadership, becoming a place of efficiency, respect, and fairness. As for Chris, he visited often, sometimes bringing his mother along. He had found new purpose, speaking at schools, mentoring young veterans, and slowly rebuilding his life. And Jennifer? She found something she never expected. Love, purpose, and a knowledge that sometimes the smallest act of kindness could change not just one life, but many.